Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre. Thank you for joining me in this video. We are going to try and remake this woven large bead pendant. I think that's what I'll call it, woven large bead pendant. So I've chosen to do it with a heart, but you could do it with an oval or it'd have to be rounded. So yeah, an oval or a circle would work too, but it's meant for a larger bead. Now I've made this heart. I've made two hearts, and they're completely different in size, and they're using the same cutter. So it's amazing how just moving clay around can change the size of a bead. So yeah, we're going to my original bead. I have used a rondelle here, a 6mm rondelle, and I found it very awkward to fit it in there. It moved around. So in this video, we're going to try using a 4mm bicone bead instead, because I think it'll hug in there just a little bit better. And for supplies, let's start with the tools. What you will be using they're minimal tools. We're going to use the chain nose pliers. We're going to use our flush cutters and our round nose pliers and a ruler. And then as far as beads go, let's see. I'm going to measure, whoops, sorry, my ruler was underneath the camera stand for some reason. So this heart, I'll do it in millimeters, was about 22, well, here, if we do from the top of the heart, 27 by about 29. Let's see what this one is. This one is 30 wide. So I'm thinking when I took it off, I compressed it by 22. So it's, oh, here, 25 millimeters. But an oval, you could do, now I've been generous with the wire. Oh, you know what? I'm going to move the camera back a bit. That way, I'm not going to hopefully stay in. And it's always a challenge for me to stay in. So an oval, you could use a larger bead. I've been generous with wire. And if you feel that you need even more, there's no harm in adding more wire, because it's better to have too much than too little. And in this situation, if you have extra wire, it's not going to make it harder to work with it, like in some cases. So let's go on with that. So you've got your big focal bead with the hole going down the center. And but if you're doing an oval bead with this design, you don't need the bicone. The bicone was basically to fill the little space there. And then we're using 20 gauge wire, which is 0.81 millimeters. And we are going to use three 14-inch pieces. And 14 inches is 35 centimeters, so three 35 centimeter pieces of 20 gauge 0.81. We're going to use 28 gauge as the weaving wire, and 5 feet, so 150 centimeters of 28 gauge wire. Now that's generous again. And we are going to weave about 2 inches, but again, you can increase that if you feel your bead is going to be too big. So it's always good to do more than less, because it's easier to cut off. My designs usually have it where you can cut off the excess wires, and because we do the bend around like that. And so if you've got extra, we're just cutting it off. So it's better to have too much than too little. Also, the way that I do the weaving ahead of time helps you do your weaving neater. And if you're not happy with your weaving, you can pull it off, start again, It's not, when you're doing that, you're only wasting the 28 gauge. So even if you were using sterling silver, it wouldn't be a huge waste, right? Because you could still reuse the 20 gauge wire. Okay, so let's start with demonstrating the weave. Now I've already done my weaving for this ahead of time, just to save time, but I have some shorter pieces to demonstrate the weave so that I'm not fighting with the camera, and teach you my technique. So I'm going to start with, I've got my 28 gauge here. I wonder if I should back off a little bit, just so you can see a little bit better. Okay, I think that should do it. Stable. Okay, so I want you, if we're only going to be weaving 2 inches, and so we're going to start 3 inches from the right end of the wire, and give yourself a tail on top. So this is sitting on top of the wire, and we're going to lasso them in. That's my technique to hold the wires together, and I find it works very well. So all I do is wrap around once like that, and then I push the 2 wires together with my thumbnails, and then I introduce the next wire underneath. So it's going underneath that way and underneath this way as well. And I always like to make each wire a little bit longer this way as we go, because that way when you're weaving, it's easily identified as to where that wire belongs. So now I'm going to hold this up and wrap around that second wire like this. Pull it tight. Push it in with your nails if you have to, and then do the exact same thing with the third big wire. So these are your 14-inch wires. Mine are shorter for my demonstrating. Okay, so now I'm going to wrap around that last one. Lasso it in. Okay, so that holds all your wires together and makes it easier to do your weave. And another thing I don't know if I've mentioned this in other videos or technique videos, but I found when I'm teaching my classes in real life that it's easier for a student to learn the weaving technique that I do, because I'm guessing mine's different than other people's, is when you look at it this way, I'm going counterclockwise. So all movements are going counterclockwise, and that can help keep yourself in a flowing state of mind. Okay, so we're going to go underneath all 3 wires for this weave, and I call this the 2-2-1 weave because we're going to wrap around the top 2 wires, then we're going to wrap around the bottom 2 wires, and then which is 2 wires, 2 wires, and then we're going to wrap around the bottom wire by itself. So 1, 2, 2, 1. Okay, so if that helps you. So we've gone underneath all 3 wires. Now we're wrapping around the top 2 wires. So we have to go down between the bottom 2 wires to wrap around the top 2 wires. So, and then I'm going to just push that down like that. Now I'm going to come up between the top 2 wires, pull it on over, tighten it. Okay, and so now I'm wrapping around the bottom 2 wires, and because the next step is to wrap around the bottom wire, I'm going to come up between the bottom 2 wires, and that is 1 cycle. So if you can see, blurry, there we go. So it's 2, 2, 1. Okay, now that we've done that, now we're going to go underneath, and we're going to go underneath all 3 wires again, and come around like that, let go, go down between the bottom 2 wires, come up between the top 2 wires, pull it on over. And now over top of the bottom 2 wires and up between the bottom 2 wires. And there, second pattern has been done. And that is what it looks like. So I don't know if I gave you a close look at the weave. It's actually a very pretty weave. Okay, and we're going to just keep doing that. And so I went underneath all 3, came up there, going down between the bottom 2, so that we're wrapping the top 2, up between the top 2 wires and wrapping around the bottom 2 wires, up between the bottom 2 wires, and it's just wrapped around the bottom wire. So, and then about every 3rd pattern, I like to take my chain nose pliers. You can use your nails too, but my nails tend to break from doing it. So I just push it over like that until it's cinched up. Now, if you cinch up very regularly, your weaving will be much more consistent and neat. If you wait too long in between, sometimes you can't get it over, and your weaving isn't as neat. So it may take more time to do it this way, but it's crucial to get that nice, neat weave look. Okay, so I'm going to do it a couple more times. I'm going underneath all 3, going down between the bottom 2 wires, coming up between the top 2 wires, going down around the bottom 2 wires, and then coming up between the bottom 2 wires, which makes it wrap around the bottom wire. So up, down there, up there, down there, up there. That's 2. And then as you do it, it gets faster. You don't have to be this slow. I'm just going this slow so you can see what I'm doing. Push it on over. And sometimes you get a space there. You just take your fingernail, slide it on over and even it out. That doesn't happen that often. Okay, and that's basically what you're going to do. And if you've noticed that you've slid over too close to this end, just slide it back over, because it should be able to slide fairly easily at this point. Okay, so then you want to weave about 2 inches. If you've got a larger bead, you might want to weave longer. I know that 2 inches is actually fairly long for what I'm using, but I'm okay with that. I don't mind weaving the 2 full inches. Okay, so I will leave it up to you to pause the video at this point and do your weaving. And remember, if you're not happy with your weaving, you can always pull it off and redo it. Okay, so now at this point, I am assuming that you have got your weaving done and that you're happy with it. I have one mistake on mine right there. I made a mistake, but I am hoping that my design wire will kind of disguise it, and it probably will. So I didn't want to take it all apart to fix that one spot, but I could have if I wanted to. Okay, so now at this point, I just want to straighten out these wires because they got bent up a little bit. So I'm just going to straighten them like this. You could use your nylon pliers if you wanted to do straightening. Don't overdo it because we don't want to work hard on that wire too much, but you do want them fairly easy to work with. And at this point, we will trim off the tails. The long one, just half an inch or so is good. This one, I'm thinking I'm going to trim it off completely because I don't think we'll hurt ourselves on it. And I'll just crimp it in like that. Okay. And then the top, so we've got it so that it's the front facing. And the top wire, we're going to bend straight up like that. And at this point, we're going to make our bail. And the bead does not go on this. Even though it kind of looks like it might have been, it's not. So we want to have about 3 wraps. So I don't know if you know your wires really well, but you want to kind of guesstimate how much space you need for 3 wraps. And I'm guessing on my pliers about, and I'm getting used to these pliers. Again, these are my original old ones that I've had for 20 years. About there, I think. Okay. And we do want to do a backwards wrap because we want the direction that we want the wire to go. We want it to go this way, and normally it goes that way. So we're going to do a backwards wrap. And all it takes to do that is wrapping around like this. And instead of it going on this side of this wire, we're going on the right side of it, which can be quite awkward. So I'm going to flip that around there. And sometimes it can make a messy bail too. Okay. So, oh, I forgot to mention, I've made all 3 wires the same length. It wastes a lot of wire. If you're doing sterling silver, I suggest you practice with copper first so you know how much to cut off. I just did it to be easier, just to say make it 4 pieces. And because it's all most of the length is done with the top wire. You're going to have about probably 5-6 inches extra of the other wires. So in sterling silver, that's 5 inches. I mean, 5 to 6 inches would be almost a foot. That's a lot of silver to waste. Okay, so I'm fighting with the camera here. This is awkward. I'm doing my best. It might get messy. If it does, I will fix it up. Okay, it got messy. So it started wrapping around itself. I am going to just pull it down and redo it. And it's still messy looking. It's going to be covered, but it's stronger if it's neat. Okay, and I find that messy. See, that's neater. I'm going to flip this bail around like that, just because it looks neater. Okay, it's going to go straight. And again, it still looks messy. And that's just the nature of the beast with this, because everything's so awkward, it's hard to make it neat. So the thing is to be patient with yourself and do some adjusting and make it, just because it's messy doesn't mean you can't make it neat. So it's there and it's looking pretty good. See, it can be fixed. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is bend down these 2 wires. So the bottom wire is actually going to go behind the heart or your oval or whatever you're using. And I'm actually pulling it back right now because I want it out of my way. This is going down as well. And we're going to put the bicone on that one first. And that's the middle wire. The bicone is going on the middle wire, and we're ready to do that right now. It's giving me grief, sorry. There we go. Okay, so I've got that there. It's still not sitting right. And the heart's going on it now. And this is the hardest part, is getting that top part so it sits right at first. I'm hoping with the bicone it's easier than it was with the other bead. And you know, it's doing pretty good. Get under there. Okay, so the bead's sitting okay. Okay, that's gonna go up. So now what I'm doing is, we don't want to secure the weave right away, but we're gonna try forming it as best we can. I'm pulling down this wire down at the back because that's where it's gonna sit. And I'm trying to get it so that everything sits right, and you're gonna fight with this because it's awkward. But we'll do the best we can. So I'm just going to shape it kind of, and we want it level, so gently shaping it, and we can fix it later too. So it's just to help give it the shape so that we can do the swirling as needed. Okay. Difficult. And we're going to want that in front of those wires. Okay, but we don't want to seal that up yet, because now we're going to do the fancy work with this wire. Okay. Fight. It's awkward, and we're going this way, and we're going to make a little circle, and this, I'm almost going to let it go and let the bead do what it wants to do while I do this. So we start with a circle like this, and then we want to, because it's going to be kind of like hiding the awkwardness of the wire and the bail. So we're doing a double circle, and it's decorative as well as forgiving our wire work. So you can do it 2, and if you find that the 2 wraps wasn't enough, you can do it 3. Again, if you're planning to give yourself extra room, you can always make your top wire 15 inches to give an extra inch. But I think that looks okay. 2 wraps did really quite nicely. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do, so we're always alternating our I don't know what you want to call them, loops. So this one's counterclockwise. The next one we're going to do about the tip of the heart, or a little bit right of the tip of the heart. We're going to do a clockwise wrap. And then, so right here, and you don't want it too big. And if you're doing a really small bead, which you would have lots of extra wire at the end, you would want to make these loops smaller, definitely. But okay, so I'm going clockwise, and I'm going to flip it around. It's hitting everything, but okay. So I've got that, and now it's going, you want to give it a nice flowing curve above, like this. And then we're going to do another curl going counterclockwise about halfway between that loop and the bottom. Okay, so you want it nice and flowing, and I'm holding this up with my thumb, and now I'm holding that wire. And this can be very, you got to be patient with yourself and just flowing movements. So it's like that. Okay, and now we kind of want this out of our way a little bit. So I'm pulling it back, and we're gonna take this wire down underneath the other two wires that are here, like so. So it's actually going behind, and we're gonna wrap it around those two wires. Okay, so completely around once to give it strength, and then we're going to pull it down so you have all three wires. And I'm going to try straightening those wires again. Okay, so that now that you've got that done, push this up as best you can, push that down. Let's get this bead fitted into place. And see how the weaving has flipped on me? We're going to gently use this to straighten that out. And you might have to fight with it a bit. I know I did with my other one. Okay, and now we want it to go underneath the curl, but over top of the three wires. And that's weird. This must be a wider heart, so it uses more of the weave. I could have woven more, so if you have a larger bead, definitely do more than 2 inches. It's going to be, you're going to have to adjust it according to your bead for sure. Okay. There, we're good. We're good. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it around. So I could have had more weaving, but it's not going to matter because as long as this wire's long enough, it can still do the job. Snip those all off. Lock it into place. Make it touch the weave itself right there. Hopefully I did that under the camera. Okay, I'm going to straighten that out. Everyone's going to look a little bit different. This will look different than the last one I did. Hopefully I'm fairly similar. Of course, doing it on camera always makes it harder. Okay, so the next thing to do, and it will help everything hopefully lock into place, is I'm going to take these 3 wires and I'm going to make a loop going counterclockwise. And I did it on this one several times before. I was happy with the look up front. So you probably have to do the same thing, and I'll probably have to do, because it just needs it. It just needs it to give it the depth. Because just once, well, I guess the weaving's showing through on this one. It might be okay. So it's a personal choice whether you stop at this point, and you don't want to go too far because it'll mess up your work. You want to go at this angle. At this point, you want to decide, do I want to go one more time around and then like that? Or do you want to leave it like this? This one looks pretty good. It looks better than the other one did. And I think I might leave it at this one. I kind of like the way the weaving in this one showed through, and it didn't as much on this one. So that looks nice. Everyone is different. So, and then I'm going to decide how I want these to lay out to do the top curls there. And I am pulling it like so. Okay, that's how I want to do it. And now I want to trim this, and I guesstimated about 12 millimeters long. Yes, 12 to 13 millimeters long, so about there. You can measure yours. I'm going to cut mine and see exactly where I was, just so you know. And I'm exactly 12 millimeters. Okay. So then I want to trim about 2 millimeters here. And I'm going to do the same with that one. Basically, it's to get that one. And then I want to do 2 more millimeters on this one. Or you could do 1.5 millimeters. And then I'm going to put that loop in there. And I'm doing it on top like this because it'll be stronger and it won't get snagged on the necklace as easily as if you had it out here. It would get snagged real easy. This is kind of protected in that position. And I'm going to start. Now you can choose to use your round nose pliers or your chain nose pliers. My chain nose pliers have a tiny tip, so I like to use them. I like it when my my loops are kind of teardropped instead of round. So I'm happy with the way this makes it look, but it's a personal choice. I also find that the chain nose pliers grip better. And even though I say they grip better, it doesn't always, because you're trying to get the very tip of the wire and bend it on over and have the loop touch, the wire touch itself. And you got to be gentle not to ruin your curve here, because you can be rough with it and it can distort your wires. So now I'm doing the second one. And sometimes it goes flat and other times it goes angled up. This one went flat-ish. This one's angling up. I like the angling up, but it's unpredictable. The thing is you got to be happy with however it turns out. I think maybe I did more like 2 millimeters difference between the wires. Okay, so that's what it's looking like. And now I can tweak it a little bit. And, well, I guess this will level it out if you do this. But that's kind of like the look I like. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just tweak the weave. And hopefully, when you tweak it, it's going to solidify its position. So I'm kind of like, I'm not squishing hard, but just leveling out the 3 wires there. And, well, the rest kind of followed suit. Not saying it will for you, but it kind of just made it follow suit. And I'm just fixing that one wire that moved on me. You can check your wires, make it look more balanced. And, you know, the mistake I had in my weaving was right there. You can see it. And it's, you wouldn't know unless you wouldn't know unless you knew. So that's why you got to be okay with, you know, once in a while you can make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And it's handmade. So that's the beauty of being handmade. And now I'm just making sure everything's sitting level and straight, so when it hangs from the chain, and you could do a beaded chain, you could do just an ordinary chain, that's up to you. And the last thing that I do, just because of the fragileness of this, is I actually take one of my pliers. You can either do it with this flat part or you can do it with a handle and tap it. It's probably better to do with the flat part, but we're just tapping it. I don't know if you can hear. I'm tapping. What I'm doing is work hardening it, and that's going to make it stronger. And you can do it as many times as you think you need to do it. The more the necklace is worn, the stronger it'll get. I'm not damaging it, I'm just strengthening it. And if something's sticking up, what this does too is levels it out. And that's what the back looks like. So it's just, and that kind of supports the bead. The bead can flip a little bit, but not much. When you're wearing it, it's going to stay, because the body is giving it support. It's going to stay pretty good for you. It's not going to be an issue. Okay, so it's challenging to some degree, but I feel that if you're a beginner and you're ready to start into the next level of wire work, if you feel confident with your techniques, I would say go for this. This is not an overly challenging piece. It's just you've got to be patient with yourself, and you'll be able to do it. Okay, well, that's all for this video. If you're still with me at this point, I want to thank you and encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And there's a thanks button that you could buy me a coffee or something to say thank you, you enjoyed it, and you intend to use this video, or, you know, just appreciate the work I do. And I thank you, and I pray for all my peeps. I don't know what else to call you, my followers. And God bless. Hugs to all of you, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.